Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and it's time for another Sit and Talk. I'm sorry for missing last week. I was sick. I still am. Isn't that yummy? Anyways, I'm doing that right now because if that disgusts you, you should stop watching because it's going to happen a lot throughout this video. For some reason, I haven't been able to shake this cold. Normally, I only get a cold for 2 or 3 days, but this one has lasted over a week. I don't feel that bad right now, but I've got the congestion and it just is really annoying. So I apologize ahead of time. So now there are 2 reasons that you shouldn't watch this video. Either you don't like colds or you don't like if the topic of religion comes up and you're easily offended by that. So if either of those 2 are the case, I suggest you turn this off because it's just going to bother you really bad. So of course, the Sit and Talk is the Ask Me Anything show about wargaming, business, even personal stuff like politics or religion. And if you want your comment or question answered, leave it in the section below. Unless you're watching this on YouTube, then click the link in the video description below to go leave it on our website. And also while you're there, thumb up any questions that you want answered because yeah, that'll be good. That'd just be good. So, and then what I do is I read the top 10 questions. I spend 45 minutes doing a free sit and talk for everybody. And then I spend another half an hour doing one for Vault members only, which will also be available in the description below and the links below and all that kind of stuff, where I just answer Vault questions that I have not yet answered. So let's go right into this. Colossus, facial hair detected. I don't know what you're talking about, Colossus. I don't have any facial hair. I shaved this morning. Now, in all honesty, I was thinking about growing a goatee, and it's only because my wife wanted me to try it. But about a weekend, just wasn't working. Like I was growing, but she didn't really like it, so I shaved it. That's really all there is to it. I don't really like it anyways. I like not having facial hair. Nothing against people with facial hair, because like everybody that works here has facial hair. Dave, do you have facial hair?
Sometimes.
Okay. I'm like, I can't, like right now I can't picture whether you do or not, like right now. Like I can picture it either way. Why don't you step in for a second, Dave?
Yep.
You do not, well, it's one of those scruffy ones. This is Dave Quirk. He is our new Battle Report producer. He will be mainly covering War Machine. Sorry, I blocked you there.
It's okay.
And you'll start seeing some of his stuff pretty soon, so. He'll also be participating in Fantasy and Infinity and sometimes 40K Battle Reports too, but his main focus will be doing the War Machine content. Mentality. Watched the behind the scenes vid. It was so cool. I think you're talking about the one where we were talking about the campaign. I love that it was RAM uncut. What is RAM? Raw and... I'm not sure what RAM would stand for. So awesome to see everyone unfiltered sometimes. If you're not a member, think about how cheap it is and go for it. I never regretted it. I hope that would this thing printed off properly. You know what I think? Well, I think it printed off properly. Oh. Let's silence the phone. Okay. Yeah, it was kind of fun to do that, and people seem to appreciate being able to just kind of see some really, really uncut behind-the-scenes stuff of just our discussions. Kurt, to you. Matt, how do you feel about the new Codex D weapons? I mean, Eldar. Do you see this as a terrible change to game meta? Massed SDs, better bikes, gargantuan Wraith Knights for 300 points. Do you think all future dexes will get buffed to this level or simply remain their same power level? What changes would you make to the game to compensate for the Necrons and Eldar? In other news, if you could have any monster, okay, that's another question. They're very powerful. Like there's no really arguing that the new Eldar Codex is incredibly powerful. The D weapons aren't even the thing that makes them the most powerful, though. I think the jet bikes are the serious buff. Yeah, the Wraith Knights with the template D weapons, that's very good. Don't get me wrong, and that's going to be something that's tough to work with. But you have to understand, and I've talked about this before. In our meta, in other words, people that come in here, we typically get friendly games. And so people will tone down armies that are too powerful. Or, you know, we'll tone up our armies to try to kind of match it. So I'm not too concerned. It obviously will affect tournaments. It'll affect your local gaming meta because you'll always have those players who won't be willing to tone down their army. And so therefore you'll have that Eldar player or players who will just not, they'll refuse to try to make it fun for anybody else. And so that could ruin a bit of the experience for you. So yeah, but this isn't anything new. like Games Workshop has been doing this for as long as I've been playing 40K. There's always been an army that's come out that just destroys every other army. Not every codex that comes out does that, mind you. But I remember when the Imperial Guard were updated for, like, I think 5th edition or 4th edition, and they had the Leaf Blower list where all of a sudden they could bring just a ton of vehicles. Back then, armies didn't really have a good way to deal with the mass vehicles, and so they were able to just go to every tournament and just destroy it by just bringing veterans inside of Chimeras and having lots of Leman Russes, and that was a big deal. You don't really hear about Imperial Guard Leaf Blower anymore because now there's plenty of anti-vehicle. And then Flyers, there was the time when Flyers came out and all of a sudden Necrons with their Night Size were overpowered. But then they kind of weren't the thing after a while. So in Grey Knights, when they were first coming out, like, that was super powerful, and like, this is not new. This is just how Games Workshop does codexes. Is this one the most powerful? I don't know. It's like they have destroyer weapons, and well, guess what? We've already added super heavies into the mix with Imperial Knights, and I have the Lord of Wars that allow you to bring in other stuff as well. So yeah, whatever. It doesn't bother me really. I know the next codex may or may not be overpowered as well, and then the next one after that, and the next one after that, and it'll just keep changing. It'll keep constantly changing. But yes, I wish that Games Workshop would try to balance their codexes more to make the game more competitive that way, but they're not going to, and this is nothing new. So no, I do not think that this is going to change the game meta overall. Of course, it will change the game meta, as it always changes whenever a new codex comes out, but that's not going to change the fact that it changes with every codex. In other news, if you could have any monstrous creature in 40K as a domesticated pet, what would you pick and why? A Trigon would be fun, because then you could, like, follow it, like ride it into the tunnels that it creates as it's like burrowing, although that might be a really rough ride and end up killing you as you get squished against the walls. Carnifex could be fun, just because, you know, just picture a lovable Carnifex. It's always the creatures that are most fierce that if you could domesticate them. Although a Hive Tyrant would be kind of fun because they're probably smart enough to do stuff, although you'd have to, like, make sure he has, like, just regular claws, not rending claws, because then he just breaks stuff. Ptolemy Sutter. Hey Matt, which narrative campaign was the most fun and which was the most successful from a business standpoint? Ooh, good question. It's hard to say which one was most successful because the very first one we ever put out, Fate of Fayum, had the most visible vault signups, and that's because it was new. It was anytime we do something new, it always gets the most at first, and then it kind of curves down and then finds kind of this happy balance. After that, most of the campaigns did similar to each other, and so people just like narrative campaigns, even when no matter how much you see any complaints about story or fudging of dice or anything else, they all seem to do pretty well. So success-wise, I think they've all been really successful. The most fun, I think Storms of Ixia was fun, but Utgard Infestation, I think I really seriously enjoyed. Rise of the Blood Reaver was fun too, but I think Utgard Infestation was my favorite.
They're all me.
Well, you were in the Rise of the Blood Reaver, and that wasn't. And I know, but I'm just saying the Rise of the Blood Reaver wasn't my favorite.
Oh, but Utgard was awesome.
Utgard was fun. There was something just so much fun about taking an underpowered army like Sisters of Battle and facing them off against basically a made-up codex. We basically made up the Genestealer Cult Codex, which apparently there's rumors that they're going to be coming out with that, which is awesome. I think that would be spectacular. We don't have a date yet, so it's probably more later this year, early next year. But we basically made up the Codex Genestealer Cult. But it was modified to the Hive Fleet Charon because in the story, there actually was a hive ship underground supplying other kinds of organisms as well. Hence why you saw more than just Genestealers and Genestealer hybrids. So I think that was my favorite because it was just, I just found it really interesting and just the way it kind of evolved. Dark Knight 1664. Hi, greetings from England. Thanks for all the content you give us Vault members. You're welcome. I really enjoy watching your bat reps and have learned a lot from watching them. I had just a quick request. Lately I have seen you play against a variety of different armies, which is great. I just wish you could spend a bit of time at looking at some of the different models in the bat rep, as most of the time the models your opponents bring and look well painted and have some great conversions. I'm thinking mainly of Cody Roo's orcs. They're awesome. I personally would love to see them closer, as we don't get to see a lot of models they use normally. Either we don't play against them or they are rare. Thanks for all you do, Vault member for life. Wah. We've had requests of that before, and it's something I'd like to do, and one day we might be able to do, if we have an employee who's actually dedicated to doing that, like as we set up our armies, he comes in and takes pictures and posts it and all that kind of stuff. The problem is, it's really hard for us to get 2 battle reports done in a day. And so we need to just focus on getting the battle reports done. So these extra things, like we used to do pregame shows, for example, where we would talk about tactics and all that, but that just took too much time. Or taking a lot of time to really showcase those armies. It would be really cool to do something like that. And like I said, if we had an employee who was dedicated to that kind of thing, or one of his jobs was to do that, that could work. But we're just not big enough yet to do that. So as we get bigger, then you can expect to see more detail added into each video, because like I've always said, there comes a point where it's no longer about creating more quantity, it's about then taking what you have and increasing its quality. Right now we're kind of in between the two, where we're partially trying to increase quantity, because that always increases vault memberships, but partly also trying to put some extra time into increasing quality of the battle reports, and things like spending more time doing better intros. And for the Wars on Apophis, we're going to have some cool transitions at the end of each battle report, showing you like graphically the changes in the tiles and all of that. So yeah, so it's this fine balance between the two. So that's a great idea, and we want to do that, and I hope one day that we will be able to do that with the way we do this stuff. Lucas37, Warhammer Total War trailer is up. I am very happy about this. Have you seen it? Yes, I have. And what do you think of it? I think it's awesome. And I think that if I've played a lot of the Total War games. Overall, I enjoy them. I'm like, I kind of enjoy the campaign aspect of the game where you're micromanaging everything, but what I really enjoy about the Total War is the actual fights. So I spend a lot of time in the Total Wars just setting up custom fights and then playing that, although I haven't played it for a while. My favorite being Shogun 2, Total War Shogun 2. I played the original Shogun, Shogun 2. I've played Total War Empire, I've played Rome, and Rome 2. I didn't really get into Rome 2, not necessarily because I know like there's launch day problems and all that, but I don't know, I just didn't get into it. It's just really what it comes down to. And so yeah, I'm really excited for that, because the thing that Warhammer can bring to Total War is Total War already has like the huge block-based fights, which is perfect for Warhammer Fantasy. But what Fantasy will bring that you haven't really seen yet in the Total War is the magic. And we saw that in the trailer, like the guy like, boom, pulling down like a meteor from the sky or some sort of huge fireball. So I think the magic and monsters will make a visual that Total War has never really been able to have before. And so having really powerful sorcerers or wizards in there can make just for some spectacular visuals. And I think that's the other thing too, that Warhammer Fantasy is going to bring some really interesting visuals. Total War has always been about visuals, but the armies themselves have never been that interesting. It's more about like the graphics of everything overall. And now you're going to have like orcs and Skaven, or I don't know what their starting armies are going to be, but I'm sure that they'll include all the extras as DLC. And so you're going to see all this variety of stuff, and the spiders, and just things that you wouldn't normally see in a Total War game. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's perfect for the Total War engine. I don't think 40K would work on the Total War engine, but Fantasy definitely could. Well, I'd love to see a large-scale 40K strategy game. And I'm not talking about like the Dawn of War. I'm talking about like something that would play like Warhammer. Even if it was turn-based, it would be okay. Phoenix 1070 or 1069. Hey Matt, 2 quick questions, and both are about Dave. First question: does Dave have a power armor fetish? Chaos Space Marines, Space Wolves, and Blood Angels, all power armor based. I guess so. It's just what he likes. Second, it would be cool to see you and Matt, meaning Dave and Matt, play a game where he plays Nids and you play Chaos Space Marines. Oh, that'd be awful for rules that we would get wrong. Keskurin, hi Matt, if everyone at Mini Wargaming had an arm wrestling contest, who would come first, second, and third, etc.? Well, I think Steve would be last, because we saw an arm wrestle challenge and he failed, but that's okay. Actually, I don't know if that video's up yet, but I don't know. If I would probably have to put myself somewhere near the bottom, because most of these other guys are probably stronger than me. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to try to rank people. So I'm going to politely decline to answer that question.
One thing, Dan. I got one thing.
What do you got, one thing?
The arm wrestling.
You got the arm wrestling, all right. So Steve would be number 1. So he says. Maybe we'll have to organize a competition to see just who would be. Wormhole, hey Matt, since the Necron Codex came out, it seems that Games Workshop is updating and releasing codexes with an emphasis on formations and detachments. My question is simple. What army are you most excited to get this sort of update? I'm looking forward to a detachment-heavy update to the Astra Militarum. That's the one I would choose, actually. Because the Astra Militarum are kind of the first to already do that. Like 2 codexes ago, they're the ones that all of a sudden it's like, okay, we have an infantry platoon. What is an infantry platoon? Well, it's a platoon command, and then 2 of these, and then you can add in these auxiliary heavy support and veterans and special weapons team. What does that sound like? That sounds like a formation. So it's kind of like the formations before there were formations. So it makes most sense that Imperial Guard would really benefit heavily from a detachment, a Decurion detachment kind of thing, where it's like, this is whatever they would call it, a company or a battalion or something like that. And it has its command, which could be, you know, you have your command squad with optional commissars and all that kind of stuff, and psychers and their astropaths and their all those things. And then, or that could be like your optional command thing that's added on. And then they have their core stuff, which would be their infantry platoons. And in there they could have kind of the different options of how to take that, like veterans, special weapons teams, heavy weapons teams, or maybe the heavy weapons teams will get moved to their own thing. And then you have your tank companies, you've got your anti-air stuff, you've got your aircraft, all those things. I think it would really add a neat flavor to it, especially with each of those formations kind of giving some sort of bonuses to the individual formations. The overall thing might have some sort of bonus too, just like we see with the other Decurion type detachments. So yeah, I think the Imperial Guard never really worked with the whole Force Org thing. They were always more complicated than that. And so it seems that they would fit the most into having that kind of detachment formation thing. So I would say them. They needed an update pretty badly, not because they're super underpowered, although they kind of are. It's more just because they're a little bland, a little boring. It's partly because they're just humans, and so it's hard to make the human race really interesting when you have all these Xenos races and Chaos and Space Marines circling around them. But they have the potential to be a really, really, really interesting codex. Jesse L907, bring back Rules You Got Wrong series. I understand it takes a long time to do it, and I'm guessing you stopped doing it due to lack of view, but personally I love the videos, and this is the internet. My opinion should be law. Well, it's funny you should say that. Probably by the point you watch this video, you may have seen that in the vault, we are now doing what's called rules discussion videos, and they're simply the same idea, rules you get wrong. It's kind of. What we're doing is we're having regular meetings with as many employees as are available that do battle reports, and we're just going to discuss a rule for 10 to 15 minutes typically. And we just did our first one today, and it was about challenges. And so we just decided we'll just film it and throw it in the vault. It's unedited. I have one rendering right now that'll be put up today, which is Thursday, and this Sit and Talk is put up tomorrow, which is today for you, and maybe unless it's yesterday and you're watching this on Saturday or something like that. But we plan on doing those regularly. I can't tell you the exact days because like we're going to try to do them a couple times a week, but it doesn't mean that you're going to have this regular schedule that you'll see them. It just all depends on how it goes. So I'm hoping that it'll allow us as the battle report producers to get better at the rules. It'll help you learn the rules, and it'll also allow you to have some feedback into what you think we're getting wrong so that we can do better with other rules. So if there's rules that you think we got wrong, go to the rules discussion video that's already posted in the vault and leave a comment there, and we'll use that as a future content for the rules discussion videos. So it's a pilot program. We're going to try it out, see how it works, because I think it would be of benefit to everybody because of how complicated the rules are. Balin, hello Matt. I think I have an idea for Games Workshop to expand Warhammer 40k because I know people who love the Warhammer 40k universe and interested in the game but don't care about miniatures. So Games Workshop should make an online game for 40k. Well, they have that already with computer games. They have Dawn of War 2, they've got Space Marine, they've got well, now we got the Warhammer Total War thing, but I don't think that's what you're talking about. What you can do, where you can do 1,000 points battle freely with restricted unit choice and upgrades without named characters. Then you could spend money on to have a bigger point cap and have the original restricted unit skins, armies characters, and maybe Forge World models. See, War Machine did that with War Machine Tactics. And I only played the beta, or the alpha maybe, and I don't know, it just didn't work. But maybe it was just the design. And I haven't played it since. I think it's actually gone into full swing now, so maybe I should try it out now that all the bugs have been worked out, and it'll probably work a lot smoother. I agree with you though, I think it would be a really good idea for them to do that, even if as an app, an iOS app, or in Android or whatever, allow people to connect to others and just play these games, and yeah, have a free version which gives you access to 1 or 2 armies and a certain number of units in those armies, and then have the paid upgrades or maybe you can earn them as well. kind of like a lot of like free to play with paid upgrades things. A lot of them will have the option to just earn the upgrades instead of paying for them just by playing a lot and earning experience and all of that. That's always a good idea, by the way, for free to play games, to have an ability for somebody to play without ever paying, because it increases their user base. And the people who actually do earn all that stuff, they're pouring so much time into the game that they're providing a lot of online experience to the other players as well. So that's what you want. You want to be able to achieve that critical player base. So yeah, I really think an iOS app would really work. Make it play almost exactly like 40K. Obviously, it'd have to be modified slightly because it's just not going to play exactly the same. But a turn-based strategy game that you can connect to another person, play 1,000 point, 1,500 point, 2,000 point game with your squads and all that kind of stuff. And it plays mainly like 40K. And it would be even cooler as a computer game, a PC game. I think the app market would have more potential for this kind of those quick pickup games. But the PC version would have the advantage of being able to have really good graphics to show the models off, because then it makes people want to buy the models as well. And yeah, I think that would be really cool. Yes, someone in the online format won't spend as much money as the miniature version, but much more people would like to spend a few $100s for something that they can play every day than people who would spend thousands of dollars to play maximum once or twice a week. Now, people won't spend hundreds of dollars to buy all the downloadable content for an app or an online game. But, well, don't get me wrong, a few people will, of course, but the majority will only be willing to spend a certain amount of money. So it's not, like, but the thing is, yeah, your market's much bigger, but because you're making it just like the 40K game, it also makes your market a little smaller unless you really make it accessible. Like the Space Hulk game, for example, plays a lot like Space Hulk, but it plays almost too much like Space Hulk, and so it might not appeal to somebody who's just looking for a computer game. But who knows? Who knows what would be the best way? Roshenko, hi Matt, thank you so much for answering my question. Hearing your orky voice left me in stitches. That and seeing Dave's concerned face peer around the corner. Hee hee. My question: 1, with expanding your business, have you considered contacting gaming companies and offering to make some battle reports for them in return for advertisement? We've kind of done that in the past. We've contacted, well, at the beginning, naively contacted Games Workshop. We've tried contacting like Privateer Press and all that, and you know, they've kind of wanted to work with it, but at the same time, they're busy with their own thing. Infinity, of course, Corpus Belli, they've been the one to be most willing to work with us. They contacted us, and I'm sure we could find other small ones as well. But really, in the end, our focus is getting Vault members, and so that's always going to be kind of the thing that determines what games we want to cover. So I don't want to get attached, like tied to certain games. We have to cover them because the company is paying us for it or advertising for us. I want to be able to have the flexibility of being able to drop a game or cover it less without having any repercussions from those companies as well. So I'm not quite sure if that would work. 2, I want to use the Mighty Empire tiles to try and make a map of the old world in Warhammer Fantasy for a narrative campaign in my local store. Any idea how many sets I would need? Probably 2 or 3. If you're looking for like a large map, that would be really cool, by the way. I'd say 2 would probably be enough. 3, well, what you saw on the board over there, I bought 3 or 4 kits. I think I bought 2 Mighty Empires and 2 Planetary Empires, but I didn't use all of them. I think I used 3 boxes worth to make all of those planets, so that kind of gives you an idea there. Vincent, 72. Hey Matt, Jesse here from Lexington, South Carolina. I've been watching these videos for 4 years and I've just recently become a Vault member due to the high comedy and fun of your work. Well, thank you. The reason I want to comment now after being around for a few months is for the recent announcement of your open narrative campaign. I think this is a wonderful idea that shows how creative and innovative your people are. I think it is a great way for you to tie your other campaigns in with each other. Personally, I think this is possibly the big thing that could make mini wargaming even better, bigger, and badder than it already is, which is already great. I hope that you continue to do big combinations like this and the other single stories to fit together and keep it going. Keep up the good work and happy wargaming. P.S. Tell Dave that he got me into Blood Angels and that you got me into Tyranids. Well, I will. He's not here today. Yeah, I'm curious to see how this is going to go. We filmed our first few battle reports this week. They'll be going out hopefully next week. So we'll have to kind of just see. I agree with you. This could be kind of like the equivalent of the Avengers movie when you're doing all the other like Captain America and Thor and Iron Man kind of things, where we have our individual narrative campaigns that tell a story kind of in a certain part, and then we can do these bigger campaigns which can tie a lot of them together. I could see that happening, and that could be really interesting. We'll see. I can't tell you if this is going to be successful. You have to ask me again in 2 or 3 months, and I'll tell you if it was successful and how successful it was. I have a hunch that it will be very successful, but we'll see. Mastercon. Hi, Matt. I definitely agree with banning Necron Decurion detachments. I am one more dull, funless Necron game away from banning it in my basement, seeing that that's where I and my associates play. Yeah, we've pretty much made the unspoken, unwritten rule that we won't use Decurion unless we're going up against a player who we know could handle it. For example, somebody coming in with a very strong Eldar list, I would definitely bring Decurion, but most other players, I'll go for more like the Combined Arms detachments or some other detachment or formation. It's not because I can't build a list that can recycle Necrons. I can. I just use some evil mix of Eldar, Tau, Wolves, Imperial Knights, and Assassins. But that's not fun. I typically field the fluffy, lighthearted thematic list, but man, you get rolled by Necrons when you do that. Bottom line, I agree with no Decurion detachments. Should definitely ban them for the open narrative campaign for your planning at least. Nothing worse than seeing 50 games of Necrons can't lose because of Decurion detachments. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens there, but it is kind of the unwritten rule now. Toby P. Hey, Matt. Great. Cut off the top. First off, thank you for answering my question last week about something, and thank you to everyone else here on the Sit and Talk, and that took time to respond also. Very much appreciated. Just been catching up on some Games Workshop rumors for 2015. So far, they are pretty accurate about what's been released to date. One of the rumors that caught my attention was a possible updated codex for both Space Marines and Dark Angels in late May and June. It also appears at Fantasy's June 13th, is what I hear. Since I play a Dark Angels army, I couldn't be more excited for a new updated codex, as 6th edition didn't do us any favors. That's true. Personally, I hope to see Dark Angel flyers and land speeders get reworked. We get a proper Lord of War and a point reduction in troops and HQ costs that wouldn't go astray. So here are my questions. 1, if the rumors hold true, what improvements do you hope they make? This question applies to both Space Marines and Dark Angels. Well, I'm not very familiar with Dark Angels, so I'll just talk about Space Marines. Space Marines, they're okay. They just, like the Imperial Guard, right now they feel a little boring. Like, I know we have the Centurion, the Grav Centurions are on auto include because you just need them. And there are ways to play like drop pod Marines and all that. It's not that they're not powerful, because they've got all their tricks and their abilities and their psychers and all that kind of stuff. But they're just lacking something, and chapter doctrines just aren't doing it. So I'm never sure what the changes should make. But even if we had even if it's just in the form of new detachments and formations, that could be enough to kind of, and some bonuses within that. Because that's the advantage of making formations and detachments, is that you don't have to buff an individual unit. You could just make them like, if you bring 3 of these and 2 of these in this formation, then they all get this buff. And so the nice thing is, the individual unit's not overpowered. It's the formation that becomes powerful. And so it allows you to use the unit in other ways that it's like, okay, I'm not always bringing these powerful units, but if you want to have that extra power, you bring it to some formation, which is restrictive on its own because it forces you to bring it in certain quantities. And so I really like that. So even if it's just a Space Marine company detachment, and maybe a chapter detachment, well, that'd be more Apocalypse size, obviously. Even a company detachment would be Apocalypse size. But that idea with formations within it, of the kind of representing the different companies, like the formations for assaulting and the formations for devastators, formations for, that would include, and that kind of forces more variety too when you have these formations, because if the formation includes stuff that you wouldn't normally bring, then all of a sudden you'll see more of that kind of stuff. So I'd like to see that. 2, all the releases so far have this new detachment format. It's safe to assume that Games Workshop will continue with this change. I hope so. I like it. Do you think this will work against Space Marines' adaptability facing other armies? Yeah, no, I think that'll be a good thing. 3, and just because I'm curious, currently what's the best option that Space Marines have for Strength D weapons? I have a funny feeling this is something I need to be adding to my current army list. You mean for Space Marines to bring Strength D weapons? Because they don't really have any access to any. They have allies. They can bring Imperial Knights, but that's about it. Unless they ally with Eldar, of course, but in a normal game, you're not going to see those D weapons. Will they add them in the new Space Marines? I have a funny feeling that you're going to see more D weapons being thrown around to counter the Necrons. It's like they build new codexes just to beat the previous strong codexes, and which, if you think about it, is a brilliant marketing strategy. Let's just get everybody up in arms about this codex, and then let's make another codex that can beat that codex, so everybody flocks to it. And then everybody's up in arms about that codex, so we'll make another codex that can beat that codex. It's not really good for game balance, but it might be good for sales. Phoenix 1069, if you were a Space Marine, what chapter would you want to be in? Games Workshop chapter, not the Mini Wargaming chapter or anything like that. I would want to be not Blood Angels, because then I'd go crazy. I'd probably just be boring and say Ultramarines. just because they're the Ultramarines. They're awesome. And I know that in game that's not necessarily the case, but they're kind of one of the big chapters. So I'd choose that one, or you see, I'd be afraid of like to be one of Space Wolves or Blood Angels, where you know their minds just kind of get a little more weird. So let's say Ultramarines. Theragon. Hi Matt, I really enjoyed watching the battle report with Damien, the younger kid, as I am also a teenager. So my question is, what is your opinion on younger people in Warhammer? Well, Damien was awesome. He was so much fun to play against. I hope there's lots of younger people in Warhammer, because that way we're always getting an influx of new customers and new people who can play and new people who are interested in watching our videos. So my opinion is it's great. I know some people complain about it because they don't want to go to their local store and it's all full of 12-year-olds, but you know what? We need to constantly have new people being recruited into this hobby. So there's always going to be different demographics. So I think it's great. Blason, hi Matt. So I'd like to know why Steve said "don't out me" when Drewski was saying that it was a lie that Steve was bad at English and math from the most recent Gaming with the Mountain. Is Steve actually a rocket scientist poet in addition to being awesome? I'm not going to confirm nor deny that. Mortrin. Hey Matt, someone this week talked about Necrons trying to use Tyranids to get bodies. Your answer made perfect sense to me. The more I thought about it, the more it seems that Gene Stealers might be a great choice though. What are your thoughts? Mortrin. Gene Stealers are Tyranids too, so I know that they're kind of different because they can work outside of the hive, so maybe they could work. But you want something that you could kind of mass produce, but I guess Gene Stealers could do that. I still think that for the Necrons, their best bet is humans, because they're the most, there's just so many of them. And so that gives them the best chance for surrogates that way. So I still think humans would be the best one. Badgerfish. Hey Matt, I keep seeing people mention getting rules wrong as being a big deal. I don't think it is, but maybe they should suggest ways to fix this. For example, releasing a preview to Vault members so people can comment out rules, and then adding annotations on the YouTube videos when rules are wrong, just as acknowledgements. Doubt it will fix the problem, but the most common mistakes will eventually get fixed over time as you edit the videos. Good luck. Yeah, it's tough. I agree with you that it's not as big a deal as people think. I think when people are like, you shouldn't get any rules wrong, I never get rules wrong, that they're wrong. I don't think anybody can play a game of Warhammer 40k or Fantasy or even War Machine or Infinity without getting a rule wrong. If you don't think you did, I always issue the challenge, film it, put it in front of 10 to 50,000 people, and if that many eyes on it, yeah, they're bound to find something. And then there's the case where you could get everything right, and then people will still write rules that they think you got wrong, but they actually got wrong, and so then that could create it as well. So it's never going to be perfect. We are, like I said already, we're taking measures to try to improve how many mistakes we make. In other words, making less of them, but it'll never be 100%. I can guarantee that. Rivendell 90. Would you run Tyranid Pyrovores if they were beasts or had Torrent? Yeah, I would. I'd run them right now. I just keep forgetting to add them to my army. I have one that has an unfinished base. I'd love to add a few more, because now with the Tyrannocytes, it kind of makes them interesting, because you can drop a Tyrannocyte with a group of 3 of them, and then you got 3 heavy flamers in the flanks. So why not? But if they had Torrent, I'd agree that would. I think I saw a Bell of Lost Souls article talking about fixing Tyranids, and the guy mentioned adding Torrent to Pyrovores. I agree. I think that would make them more viable. You bring a unit of 3, and all of a sudden you got 3 heavy flamer Torrents. Yeah, you'd see more of them. And no, it wouldn't be overpowered. Making them beasts, I don't know. They fit along the same kind of base as the Biovores, and so they look like they should be slow moving. I wouldn't make them beasts necessarily. Mr. Magic Marmite. Hey Matt, long time sit and talk viewer and vault member for a LAFA for a I don't know what that's supposed to be. Love the narrative campaigns, but I think you missed out a great opportunity in Return or Rise of the Blood Reaver. But here's my suggestion of how you can rectify it. Basically, after the world is overrun by demons, Cassius crawls out from the rubble of where he was presumed killed. His force sword has been destroyed and he needs something to defend himself with. So he makes his long way to the closest weapon he can find, Helen's Demon Blade. It's been discarded as it's no longer needed to open or close the warp portals, as the planet has turned completely into a demon world. So Cassius picks up the blade and can wield it due to his incorruptible nature as a Grey Knight in future campaigns. This means he can use the rules for Castellan Crow, a Brotherhood champion like Cassius who wields a demon blade. Hopefully this means we can get an awesome new conversion for Leland 2. Thoughts? And then it got cut off. For some reason, at the top of each page, it's cutting off the comments. I think it's really cool. However, with the way that it actually works in the Chaos Lord still does need the blade because the Blood Reaver was banished back into the warp in the last episode. Spoiler alert. He needs it to get him back there again, so that'll be ongoing there. So, yeah. Toby P, what happened to the view of the world maps after the battle report for Orcs and Nids? I thought that was the plan after your meeting. What happened to the view of the world maps after the battle report for Orcs and Nids? 2 days ago. What do you mean? We don't have any of the Warzone Apothis. Oh, we did a while back a battle report. Oh, are people getting that confused now? I should probably comment on that. That's right, we had a Tyrannus vs. Orcs. Yeah, that's right. I could see why people got confused by that. We filmed that like a month ago. We came in and we played Tyrannus vs. Orcs, and we did a little narrative battle report on Ixia, but it actually wasn't part of the Warzone Apothis. So that'll become more clear next week when I post the first one with Andy, or we'll be like, this is the first episode of Warzone Apothis, and so then hopefully that'll clear that up. So, yeah. Robbie King 123. Hi Matt, greetings from Iceland. Any chance that you will make another anniversary style battle report like what you did with Dave and Dan? I was browsing over some of your older videos and I absolutely laughed my breath out from watching those battle reports. Anyway, love your videos. Keep up that great work. No plans, but we'll probably be doing something. All right. Excuse me. Frederick K. My question is, do you prefer the look of classical ancient Greco-Roman sculptures or the modern Warhammer minis? That's kind of uncomparable. But if I had to, I'd choose modern Warhammer miniatures because they look awesome. That's not to take away from how awesome all the old Roman sculptures looked like and all that, but if I had to choose, yeah. Dragon 11. Hey Matt, just wondering if there's a way to see both players as they create a battle report. I realize the cost would be the same as having 2 employees play each other, since you would need someone there just to record and not play, but maybe every now and then have a battle report recorded by a third person in the room. That goes along the same kind of discussion as quantity and quality. Right now, we're still a small business, only like half dozen employees making battle reports. And so think of it this way. If you have to add another employee to do something, in this case we'd have to add like 2 or 3, because often on days we have 2 or 3 battle reports going on at the same time. Then let's say we just had to add 1 though. Like right now we have, let's see, we've got Steve, Leland, Dave, myself, Chris, Justin. Don't miss anybody, right? That's 7 people. So if we have to add 1 more employee, that doesn't add more content, but just improves content. We've increased our expenses, our wage expenses by 1/7. And that's a big increase. Oh wait, when we have Adam as well, editing the videos, so it'd be 1/8. Whereas if we're up to like 30 employees and you add a couple people, it's not as big an expense increase. Also, the other thing to look at is the number of vault members. If we have tons and tons of vault members, then it's a smaller percentage to add a few more people in there with those different things. A perfect battle report would not have the people in the battle report holding the camera. You're right, it would have 2 or 3 cameramen. Actually, I think of it more like a game of, if you watch Tabletop for Geek and Sundry, I picture it being a lot like that. Mind you, it wouldn't be exactly like that because they kind of sit around a table, and so they can have all these fixed cams and that kind of stuff, but there's a lot more motion and a bigger table when it comes to Warhammer. But having like an overhead cam, having 2 or 3 cameramen, and then editing it all together would make for a fantastic battle report. But the cost is just so huge that it's just, you know, it would be like 10 times the cost of a battle report right now at least. And so we just wouldn't be able to afford that, and with the number of vault members. But if we had 10 times the number of vault members, there's a certain point where, like I said, adding more quantity isn't what people want. They want more quality, because there's only so much you can watch in a day. And so like if we were to all of a sudden have 10 videos out every day or 20 videos out every day, there's only so much that you can watch. So it'd be better. Vault members would appreciate not more, but better. And so that's where we can add the expenses when there's a lot more vault members as well. So that kind of goes into the same lines as that. But you're right, I think it would be better. Blackfire0193. Hi Matt, keep up the good work. I was wondering what programs do you use to calculate your point values for games? I've heard of people using apps and programs instead of manually calculating. Just was wanting your opinion. Thanks. Army Builder is our favorite, and most people here use it. Battlescribe is a good alternative on your. I think it's available for Android as well as iOS, but I don't really know. I have it on the iPad. But Army Builder is my favorite. I wish they had an app for Army Builder though. At least I don't think that they do. I know you could save it and then show it on your iPad, but that's not what I mean. But that is our favorite, Army Builder. Count Awesome. Matt, will you be posting the various rules, where to find them or variations thereof to the new open campaign so that others could replicate themselves? You asked this 12 days ago, so you probably already know the answer, but in case you don't, yes, they're already posted. Go to miniwargaming.com/apothis. It's APOTHIS. miniwargaming.com/apothis. And that has and then at the bottom of it, there's a link that you can actually see all the rules for. Now, those are going to change over the course of the campaign. I'm going to kind of see what's working, what's not working, and make tweaks. But yeah, whatever changes I make will be immediately viewable. Nargle Cargle. Aloha from Germany. Awesome work you are doing. Love it. Thanks, and looking forward for many more years of Mini Wargaming. Here are some questions. 1. Can you see from which country your Vault members come? Yes. And are they any special countries that, like maybe Japan or Trinidad Tobago? Just wondering how far the Mini Wargaming virus spreads. I haven't looked at that specifically in a very long time, because it hasn't been something pertinent to what I've been trying to plan. But I wouldn't be surprised if we had Vault members in most countries, even if it's just like one somewhere around. But I don't know about those. 2, please hire Drewski for more bat reps. The banter bat reps with him and Dave are just hilarious. 3, if you make a shirt with your face and the words, "That's not statistical," that would be instant bot. 4, it would be cool if you could make some presentation videos about your studio armies like Dave did with his Chaos Space Marines. Or maybe there are videos like it and I've just not gone deep enough into the vault. Yeah, I have one of all my Tyranids, well, at least all my Tyranids at the time, because I was about to do something with all of them. I was about to organize them all, so I made a video. That was a while ago though. Okay, that's it. Keep going and never forget. I'm gonna skip that one. Alarath. Hello Matt, just wanted to send out a thank you to everyone Mini Wargaming for all the hard work you guys do for our hobby. You guys rule. Thank you. After listening to your most recent Sit and Talk and Sit and Vault, I want to know what your opinion is of looking at the imbalances that occur in the codexes as a representation of military advancements, not unlike what has taken place in our own military conflicts. During World War II, there was a battle between the various forces for technological supremacy. Just a different perspective. Thanks. Oh, yeah, of course. Realistically, armies are never balanced. Engagements are never perfectly aligned. People don't line up and then start firing at each other at given times. But this is a game, and games need to have balance to be fun. Because it's representing a war, but at the same time, it's a game. It's what it comes down to. Most time when I'm rolling dice, I'm not necessarily thinking this guy's guns are going tick, 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 tick. I'm rolling dice and hoping to see 3s and 4s and 5s, or 5s and 6s, whatever it happens to be. And that's the fun aspect. And seeing the models move around and how cool it looks too, that's the fun aspect. Trying to accurately represent war, for me, not the fun aspect. So don't think that's why they're doing what they're doing, meaning Games Workshop. Father Devios 87. Hi Matt, first I have to say that I love all the content you guys do, and you have got me back into the hobby after years of just sitting on the shelf. Well, thank you. I love the narrative campaigns, and I'm recently joined the vault. Awesome. I know me and my friend might make an attempt to come up there and play a bunch of games with you guys. First question, using Adeptus Mechanicus as an ally is the only way to make it Battleforge is by taking the full mandible detachment, or is there another way? You can take, if you want to take them as an ally, you can take them in any formation that is in that book. You don't have to take the detachment. So if you bring just one of the formations and bring it in, I really need to make the video. You know what? That could be in one of our rules discussions. Although I think everybody here knows how to do detachments and formations, maybe we'll do one of the rules discussions where I finally just describe, because I keep saying I'm going to do this, to describe what is a detachment, what is a formation, what is Battleforge, what is Unbound. And so if you want to bring something as an ally, you just bring it in. So if you have a formation from the Adeptus Mechanicus book, you can just add that to any army you want. It could be added to a Tyranid army. It's just then you have to follow the allies rule when the ad mech is interacting with the Tyranids. If you have 3 different armies in your list, then each of them have to interact with each other according to the allies chart. So yeah, you can bring any of the formations or the detachment. Second, where will there be any narrative campaigns featuring apocalypse formations and battles? I think we've seen some of those in some of our narrative campaigns. In this open narrative campaign, we are going to have some apocalypse battle reports at key moments. And finally, if Dave ever went against the Chaos Gods, would his beard be stripped whole and sucked into the warp? Of course. So if you ever see him shaved, then you know he's gone against them. Right. PA 1310. The 40K hobby seems to have a lot of older adults playing the game rather than young teenagers. Unlike video games or cartoons, I think Games Workshop designed this game in a way that one cannot grow out of Warhammer 40K, with exceptions of course. With that in mind, can you imagine a group of 90-year-old guys at a retirement home playing Warhammer 40K? I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to it. I could see that happening. Remember that Games Workshop has only been around for a little over 30 years, so we don't have, the people that initially get attracted to the game typically are young teenagers and then people in their 20s. That's your typical demographic. Of course, you're always going to have people outside of that typical demographic, but I think the majority of people who are starting it for the first time are going to fit there. And so if that's the case, then 30 years from then, that's those people being in their 50s. And so right now you'll still see gamers in their 50s, but you're not going to see many in their 60 plus, just because if the majority of people started there, then obviously that's where the majority is going to be. So you're going to have to wait another 30 or 40 years for us to start seeing the 80 and 90-year-olds playing it. And of course, there's always going to be less and less and less as they move on with life and some people get out of it. But I think that is what you will see. Oh, 45 minutes. Our time is up. Thanks for watching. Of course, click the link below to go to the Sit and Vault. If you're not a Vault member, you can still click it, get a free 7-day trial, which gives you instant access to the Sit and Vault, as well as the other thousands of videos that are in the Vault, the painting tutorials that Chris does every day, battle reports, the extra narrative campaign stuff, the rules discussion videos, the behind the scenes, all of that available in the Vault. And of course, you get to support us, allow us to continue making videos, which we really appreciate. So click the link below. Thanks for watching, and happy wargaming.